Hi, Jason. My name is Ash Singh. I am Michael Bloomberg's adopted son, and I'm looking for investment. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Mr. Singh. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Jason Patel. I'm co-founder and CEO of Transizion. We're a data-driven education platform that connects young professionals to students and helps them make extra money through mentorship. We
Mm,
are essentially taking the creator economy and using that to provide affordable, personalized education at scale. So far, we have 60 mentors on our platform who have helped over 400 high school students with college and career planning. We have a B2B and a B2C business model in that parents and students pay to access the platform. And then, of course, schools pay a per seat fee to access our platform as well. For 2022, we're projected to do $1 million in revenue. That's our current run rate. And we have over a 90% customer retention rate.
mm,
Overall, we're solving a problem in which young professionals are broker, more in debt than ever, and high school students need more college and career guidance because they get less than 10 minutes per year. And we're
mm.
bringing those two markets together to help high school kids and young professionals. We're giving high school kids college and career guidance and giving young professionals the money they need to pay their rent, pay their bills, and so on. My
Excellent.
formal ask of you is we are raising a $3 million seed round with $200,000 soft committed. And overall, we would love to have you on board, especially someone who is with Mayor Bloomberg, whom I'm a big fan of. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Jason, for that. And thank you for pitching. So let's get some feedback for Jason on what he's building. Jason, we love what you're working on. We know that there is a kind of a large problem in the market, specifically for students, where they are kind of left on their own, right? They go through high school and they probably have all sorts of pressure, peer pressure, parental pressure. I have Indian parents, so I had obviously this parental pressure to become a doctor or, some sort of professional. I totally understand this, but a lot of them end up making decisions about their post-secondary education that are quite costly. Right. And so we know that, for instance, 75% of people that in the United States that go to college end up working in an industry that they are completely untrained for. Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with the statistic. We also know that in the UK, parents would rather their children have an internship at Google than to get a degree from Harvard. Okay. Which is a real big change in how people are thinking these days. And so what happens is that when I was thinking about your platform, I was thinking about the pain point. And obviously there is a pain point with people that have graduated that have student debt and need money. But I was actually more interested in kind of how you're revolutionizing the student experience, right? How do they activate, right? Because I think it's always good to kind of be the hero for one audience. Okay. So there are people that need money, especially people in New York right now. We know rents aren't cheap. You're in one of the most expensive cities on the planet. But I think it's more around the students and the value add that you need to give, guidance counselors, okay? Career guidance counselors at high schools have failed. Okay. The recruitment, right? You can go to a campus for university, people do a campus tour, right? And you can go to a campus and it looks really good, but you don't really get a sense of what the school's all about. And so this idea of solving that problem, okay, not only from a financial perspective, but from a personal perspective, right? Like just making people focus and get to work faster and do work that they enjoy, I think is a very powerful, and you are going to help manage that transition, right? And that's why you call yourself Transizion. So my question to you is, tell me a little bit about the data, okay? And the reason I ask this is through your platform, I'm assuming that students are more confident in their choices for post-secondary school. We also have parents that are also happier. Tell me a little bit about that, right? Tell me about the result on that, because it didn't come out in your pitch and I wanted that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think structuring the pitch, by the way, I mean, just as a meta, like a side note, to get that point across while telling the story is definitely important. So always open to feedback there. I mean, that's important.
Yeah.
So to answer your question now, as far as the data, we collect data on students' personality, their background, where they want to go to college, what type of schools they want to go to. And that can break down from climate to big, small school to something like, do they want a football team? Do they want a Greek life on campus? And then separately, we figure out, okay, is this person learning different? So do they have ADHD? We also figure out, okay, what are their financial needs? And then we essentially custom tailor a list of schools for that student. So that's some of the data that we also capture. On top of that, when it comes to career building, so if a student, for example, wants to go into the STEM field but might not want to be a doctor, they could become a researcher or something of that sort. We basically guide them in the right path and help them make those decisions in high school, especially, so that they're setting themselves up for college and beyond.
Understood. And both of those kind of intersect, because the first thing is around doing the assessment of the person's ability, right? There's psychometric analysis and all these other components to make sure that they go to the right school. But what you also then do is say, okay, based on your career path, we've recommended 10 schools, but based on your career path, there's probably only 3 that you should go to, right? Okay. But but
exactly.
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Well, just my other point on that, I also feel like based on your platform, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. Okay. And so, my mom was a doctor, my dad was a doctor, and I like the idea of banking, but I don't know anything about it. And everyone in my circle doesn't know anything about it, but I could potentially be a great banker. And so, this idea of, 75% of college students not working in the industry they're trained for is probably because of that, right? Because they kind of want to go here, but they don't know how to get there necessarily, and the schools aren't helping them. Does that make sense, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. So to that point, I think another thing I'm looking for advice on, or sort of trying to figure out, is, we're not just tech-enabled college counseling, right? This is not just for kids who want to go to Harvard or Stanford. We have students who, for example, want to figure out what's the best alternative choice outside of college. We have kids who want to become firefighters. We have kids who will go to community college, maybe for 2 years, and then go to a 4-year school. So we're less about helping college-bound kids, although that's the brunt of our business right now. What we really want to do is help high school kids to find their pathways for the future, regardless of whether you're going to a trade school, military, police, firefighter, or of course, college.
So the idea of smart placement, is that fair to say, Jason?
You say it better than I do. This is why I'm here.
No, but a smart placement platform, right? So when we think about how the world is moving, you are creating this AI machine learning powered platform that plugs into every school in the United States, that's going to allow students, based on their learning abilities, their interest, their aspirations, to be able to be placed right in the best place at the best time, right? With the right training. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Right. Got it. Because I wanted that, this idea of, do you get what I'm saying? And again, I'm going to go a little bit more macro, Jason, with you, like we did earlier, but I want that macro piece to kind of come out, because I feel like this is something that even like, the non-for-profit, like the big impact investors would be interested in too, right? Like solving this problem, right? As we're talking. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I think, well, let me ask, since I'm on the spot. When we talk about the macro and what the vision is for, let's say, 3 to 5 years from now, or the ultimate vision, 7 to 10 years from now, how much of that ultimate vision do I put in that 1-minute elevator pitch? Because I struggle between including what we've accomplished and what our current problem solving, or what we currently do, And then I struggled balancing that with this is what we want to do eventually when we take over the world.
Yeah.
How do you think we split? Oh, how do you think I split that data or that storytelling?
Yeah. Well, I can give it a shot, Jason.
Please.
But let me talk a little bit, because you got some traction already, right? Tell me about your existing traction.
Yeah. So we have a thriving B2C operation. We've done over 3 million views on YouTube, TikTok, and our website through content leadership. Yep. And that's where we find our consumers, through word of mouth and through organic content. Parents and students in high school will pay a per monthly fee to access your platform and access the mentors that we have. But more significantly, we see a massive opportunity in New York and urban schools basically around the country. We were approached by a large New York City school late last year. They wanted to purchase access to our platform. That pilot for 70 students went very well. It was a $10,000 contract, and they're going to be a referral for future B2B business in New York City. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is do B to X. If you want to be a consumer and join our platform and get the help you need and get white glove service, we're there for you. And if you want to be a school who wants to help underserved kids with navigating financial aid, college essays, figuring out what career to go into, we're going to be that as well. We see I see the $1 billion opportunity being in B2C and B2B. B2B has features, as you can imagine, the much larger contracts. And we're placing a larger focus on that this year.
Understood. All right. So Jason, what we're going to do is you get to be Mayor Bloomberg's adopted son. Okay. Right. We're not really, just so we're clear. I know this is going to go live, and I am actually not Mayor Bloomberg's adopted son. So please don't send me messages, because, sometimes like, oh my God, really? Guess what? So I always have to clarify, just for entertainment purposes, we try to localize Jason. You know what I mean? So you can be actually anyone you want to be today, right? Because you are your investor. You're looking for $3 million. When again, just to, this idea of using a high quality, low cost resources in young professionals, along with your machine learning, smart placement algorithm, you are going to transform the ecosystem for post-secondary. So you're going to be managing the post-secondary school journey for everyone in the United States eventually. That's what Transizion is going to do, correct?
Bingo.
All right, got it. All right, I'm going to pitch it back. I'm going to pitch you. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit the top, and Jason, you get to, once we hit the top, you introduce yourself, and I will attempt to pitch Transizion to you, right, for investment. All right.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
So
go ahead,
Mr. Singh. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Jason Patel, good friend of Mayor Bloomberg, ultra successful tech CEO, and I'd love to hear more about what you're working on, the progress that you made.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jason. My name is Ash Singh, and I'm part of the Transizion team. You might know this, right? Because I know that Mayor Bloomberg has academics near and dear to his heart. But 75% of high school students that enter post-secondary education end up working in an industry that has nothing to do with what they paid for. Okay. We've also discovered that this problem is not just a personal problem, but it sets people back, decades in terms of student debt. And so we looked at this process and asked ourselves how we could change this. And through our investigations, we realized that guidance counselors are insufficient. Universities invite people for campus opportunities to see nice campuses, but when it comes down to the person, their learning ability, their aspirations, and all of these components, these are left out. And so Transizion is a platform. It's a smart digital platform that we have created for, our hope is for every high school student in the United States to be able to understand their learning abilities and understand what they truly want to do. And we make these recommendations. We make recommendations to the right school at the right pace, at the right price, as well as for an aspirational career that they might not even known about. and we want to power this and make a big change. We've been able to get this off the ground. We got a lot of feedback, fantastic views. We have had over 1 million views on social media for what we're doing, and we need $3 million to take this to the next level and basically make that transformation for the next generation of workers as well as society. So I'm looking for $3 million. We got some money committed, and we want to make the first change here in New York City. And my hope is that you're going to be interested to have another conversation to see if you can participate. Thank you.
So, Mr. Singh, I thought that was awesome. And I noticed that during your pitch, you spent about, let's say, 20 to maybe 25 seconds on the problem. You were articulating that.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason you spent that much time on the problem as opposed to getting straight into the company?
Yeah. So what I did, Jason, because I was pitching it back to you, I went a little bit long.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to give you two versions. I gave you two versions of the problem, right? There was two versions. So I didn't know which one was going to sound right. So I gave both. But I really wanted to deep dive on not just the student debt problem, because I believe they know about that. Everyone knows about student debt, but I really wanted to get into the problem of misinformation, the idea that everyone wants their child to go to Harvard, to brag to their friends that their child goes to Harvard, but this idea that 75% of just complete wastage, right? Wastage of time, wastage of resources, wastage of aspirations, and the fact that your platform is going to change that. So when I look at it, it's like, and what I should have said, Jason, is, currently it's 75% of people do not know, end up going to school and work in areas that have nothing to do with what they're learning. We are going to flip that over. Okay, in the next 5 years, and I would like you to be a part of it. And I want to show you how we're doing it with this school. Okay, that's kind of where I think that it's like that macro level, and it's something that I feel is just such a pull, because a lot of us have experienced that, right? A lot of us have friends. You go to high school. It's about that touch point. The storytelling component, and you're good at this. But for me, it's like, I know you go to high school, and there were some guys that were like super smart. And like 20 years later, you're like, where did they end up? And it was because they ended up going to Harvard to get a medical degree when they should have just gone to like third tier school to get a medical degree. Do you get what I'm saying? And they would still be doctors, right? And so these are the essences that are kind of coming out. And I like to play that because it's more cerebral. It kind of connects to you. And I think that it sparks another conversation. But I went long, Jason, just so you could have the sound bites, basically. I kind of did two pitches together, but I wanted that to come in. And I also want to make sure you have that strong ask at the end, okay? Strong ask at the end. You are in New York. You're a New York boy. Let's play the New York card. Let's get them in. Let's get a conversation going with this. You have an urban school that's on board with you. Let's get that in. Right? Let's lock them in, right? Let's show them it in action. I'd love for you to come with me and show you the work we're doing at this urban school. That, oh, by the way, you went to school to that. Oh, that's a weird coincidence, right? Serendipitous, And these are the elements we have, Elevator pitching in New York is actually a lot of fun, because if you know a little bit about their background, right? And they can be a winner, it works. So that's my thoughts, Jason, just in terms of the energy flow that I have for what you're doing right now. We love what you're doing. And I think that there's obviously such a huge potential, not just, by the way, in the United States and New York, but this has, everywhere, right? You get it done there, and you need to launch in Canada. You need to launch in Singapore, okay? You need to launch in London, and we'd love to be able to support you in making that happen as well, Jason.
Yeah, excellent. I appreciate it. Another big takeaway for me here is, not being too humble or being too shy to lean into the ultimate vision here. Because sometimes I'm like, okay, we're 7 years away from it. Don't talk about it because it might be like over-promising. But if we're able to sell that vision and connect it to what people are going through right now, I think it becomes a lot more feasible. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Get in there, and you are going to be there, right? Okay. They want, and we'll talk a little bit about this later on, VC math. What is a venture capitalist thinking in their head in terms of that number? people come and they pitch their ideas for money. But in that same pitch, they do not do the computation in terms of what they need to go to, right? So your $3 million in your pitch needs to transform to them at least a 68x return on their money if they're a VC. And I need to hear that, Jason. Does that make sense?
Right.
So where you're going is not an ego thing. It's okay. It's your baby. You need to know where your baby is going, right? When you raise a kid, you need to know where your child is going to go, right? This is your baby, and you need to make sure that the $3 million is going to transform into a $300 million company, right? And that needs to, there's a little bit of conviction, but I get it. Like sometimes you have to be a little bit careful, right? You read the person, and if you've won them on the other things, you can talk about money a little bit later. But I always try to make sure the strong ask is there, and the big picture along the big ask is there as well, so it connects the dots for them, right? You do the math for them, right? But Jason, love what you're doing. Really excited about where things are going. And thank you for joining us. I know you had a little bit of trouble, but I think you did a great job given the fact that you were, sipping some coffee and walking around at the same time. Great pitches today. Thank you very much.